You can be beautiful, intelligent, kind, loyal, and still not be the woman he chooses. That sounds unfair, doesn't it? But it's a reality that many people avoid talking about. Today, men have more choices than ever before. With one swipe on a phone, he can suddenly see dozens or even hundreds of new women. In a world filled with endless options, simply being a good woman is no longer enough to stand out. But don't lose hope, because this is where everything changes. Most women respond by trying even harder. They send the first text. They give more attention. They work harder to prove how valuable they are. But what if the moment you start proving your worth is the exact moment you begin giving away your power? In this video, you're going to discover one simple shift, just one, that can completely change how he sees you. It's quiet. It's natural. Yet it sends a powerful message to his mind that says she isn't like everyone else, and I could actually lose her. That feeling, the possibility of losing someone valuable, often makes a man pay closer attention. This isn't about playing mind games or manipulating anyone. It's about recognizing your own value and expressing it in a way that many women were never taught. If you're tired of feeling like you're always almost enough, if you're exhausted from watching him notice everyone else while asking yourself, why not me? Then stay until the end. Because by the time this video finishes, you won't just understand what makes a man notice you. You'll understand what keeps him choosing you again and again. And trust me, the biggest lesson is still coming. So don't skip the next part because it changes everything. You think about him from the moment you wake up until you fall asleep. Every conversation felt effortless, every laugh felt genuine, the connection seemed real, the way he looked at you felt different, almost unforgettable. Maybe he even said, I really like being with you. So why does it suddenly feel like he's drifting away? At first, everything seemed perfect. He texted first, he made plans, he wanted to spend time together. He made you feel noticed and appreciated. Then something slowly changes. His messages become shorter. He says he's busy more often. Phone calls become less frequent. His excitement fades, and suddenly you're left wondering what happened. You replay every conversation in your mind, searching for the mistake. But here's something many people never hear. You may not have done anything wrong at all. This is the point where most women begin chasing answers. They try harder, they become more available, they offer more affection, more patience, more understanding, hoping things will return to how they were in the beginning. Ironically, that's often when he creates even more distance. Why? Because a man can genuinely enjoy being with you. He can find you attractive. He can appreciate your personality. He can care about you, and he can still pull back. It doesn't automatically mean you weren't enough. Don't leave yet, because the next idea explains why this happens more often than people realize. What keeps someone emotionally invested isn't simply the attention you give them, it's the place you quietly occupy inside their thoughts. When a man feels he already has all of your attention, your time and your emotional energy before he has truly earned that closeness, something changes inside him without him even realizing it. He relaxes, not the kind of relaxed feeling that comes with commitment or security, but the kind that quietly whispers, she's already here, I don't have to work for this anymore. Maybe I should see what else is out there. That's the moment the balance begins to shift. The second he no longer feels he could lose you, he often stops trying as hard to keep you. And this is exactly where your greatest strength begins. When you understand how to value yourself without chasing, when your presence creates curiosity instead of pressure, the entire dynamic starts changing. Instead of feeling pushed, he becomes naturally interested. Instead of feeling certain, he starts wondering. Deep inside, many men are attracted to a woman who chooses to be with them, not because she needs them, but because she genuinely wants them. That difference is powerful, it's calm, it's confident, and in just a moment, you'll discover the one simple move that quietly creates this shift without pretending, forcing, or acting like someone you're not. Stay with me, because this next part is where everything begins to make sense. There is a quiet moment in almost every growing relationship that changes the direction of everything. Most people never notice it while it's happening. It isn't your first kiss. It isn't the first time he tells you he likes you. It's something much quieter. It's the moment when the balance of emotional energy changes. It's when he suddenly realizes that maybe he doesn't understand you as completely as he believed. Many women assume that a man falls deeply because he likes them more. But often he becomes emotionally invested when he realizes he hasn't fully won your heart yet. He feels that your affection isn't automatic. It's something meaningful that deserves effort and consistency. This isn't about pretending to be distant or playing hard to get. It comes from something much deeper. It's a quiet decision inside yourself that says, I know my value, I know what I offer, and I'm willing to leave any situation where I'm not respected or appreciated. The moment you stop trying to earn his attention, your energy naturally changes. Instead of silently asking him to choose you, you begin observing whether he deserves a place in your life too. That small shift changes everything. He leans closer, not because you're manipulating him, but because your confidence speaks louder than words. People naturally value what isn't guaranteed. When he feels interested but knows he still has to earn your trust, your respect, and your heart, he begins seeing you differently. And here's the surprising truth. The more you genuinely choose yourself, the more likely he is to choose you as well. Real confidence never begs for attention. It never tries to convince anyone. It doesn't over-explain, over-give, or remain where it feels ignored. It simply stands with quiet strength, allowing others to either rise to meet that standard or watch it peacefully walk away. And that is the kind of presence people never forget. It's never about putting on an act. It's never about pretending you don't care or acting emotionally distant. It's about reaching a place where you truly know your value deep inside. You understand that your presence is uncommon. You understand that your love isn't something to hand out to anyone who asks for it. It's something shared with people who genuinely recognize and appreciate it. The moment that inner belief becomes real, everything around you begins to change. When he notices that you're no longer running after his attention, but instead standing calmly, completely secure in who you are, his thoughts begin to shift. He starts wondering about you more often. He notices your absence. He feels your quiet confidence. Suddenly you aren't simply another woman in his life. You become the one he worries about losing. That's the small but powerful shift many women never experience. Not because they're incapable of it, but because no one ever showed them another way. And what comes next may completely change the way you look at relationships. Stay with me, because once you understand why competing with other women is mostly an illusion, you'll never approach dating in the same way again. The biggest surprise is still ahead, and you don't want to miss it. Sooner or later, almost everyone reaches a moment while dating when they stop looking only at the person they're interested in and begin noticing everyone around them too. You notice the women commenting on his pictures. You notice the strangers who smile at him when you're together. Maybe you think about the former partner he's still friendly with. You may never say it aloud, but inside your mind there's a quiet question that keeps repeating itself. How do I stand out? How do I compete with all these other women? And that's usually the exact moment things begin moving in the wrong direction. Because once you believe you have to compete, you also begin believing you're simply one choice among many. You start trying harder. You try to impress. You try to become more interesting, more perfect, more unforgettable. But that path leads nowhere good because you were never meant to compete in the first place. Constant comparison drains your confidence. It steals your peace. And it isn't what creates lasting attraction. Real connection grows from something much quieter. It grows from calm confidence, from self-respect, from a peaceful belief that says, I'm not here to be better than anyone else. I'm here to be completely myself. Whether someone recognizes that value is their decision, not something you need to earn. Keep watching, because the next idea explains why this changes everything. The women who spend all their energy trying to outshine everyone else are chasing something that doesn't really exist. A man may notice physical beauty. He may enjoy excitement or attention for a moment. But the woman who stays in his thoughts is usually the one who remains calm when other options appear. She doesn't panic. She doesn't rush to answer every message instantly just to hold his interest. She doesn't change her appearance only because she's afraid he'll lose attraction. She doesn't spiral every time another woman enters the room. Instead, she stays grounded because she already knows who she is. Even more importantly, she understands that nobody else can replace her because nobody else can actually be her. That's what quietly pulls people closer. Not desperation, not constant effort, not endless chasing. It's the confidence of someone who already feels complete. The way she carries herself without needing outside approval. The way she lets life move around her while she remains steady inside. Here's something even more powerful. Once you stop competing, you naturally stop attracting situations where competition feels necessary. You begin attracting people who appreciate you for exactly who you are because you're no longer hiding behind insecurity or trying to become someone else. You're simply living honestly. And honesty like that cannot be copied. It cannot be replaced. It naturally creates its own space. So whenever comparison begins creeping into your mind again, pause for a second. Remind yourself that nobody can offer what you offer when you're fully being yourself. Not louder, not prettier, not more impressive, just real. And that's the kind of woman people remember for a very long time. There is another moment that often matters even more than the date itself. It happens after everything is over. He's driving home. He's lying in bed. His phone is beside him. The room is quiet, and there are no distractions left. In those silent minutes, one thing happens. His mind either keeps returning to you or slowly begins letting you fade away. Many women spend so much energy trying to make every moment perfect. They focus on being funny, attractive, charming, entertaining, or saying exactly the right thing. But what usually stays with someone isn't any of those details. It's the feeling you leave behind. It's the emotional impression that quietly remains long after the conversation has ended. Surprisingly, that feeling often comes from one simple sentence you said without even trying. Maybe you smiled and casually said, "I'm not for everyone," and that's completely okay. Or perhaps you mentioned, "I'm never afraid to begin again if something no longer feels right." Those simple moments carry far more weight than perfectly rehearsed conversations because they come from confidence instead of fear. Most people speak hoping to be accepted. But when you speak from self-respect, emotional clarity, and quiet certainty, your words stay with people. They don't linger because you try to impress anyone. They stay because they were honest. And that's exactly why the next part is so important. Think about how many conversations people have every single day that never leave a lasting impression. Compliments are quickly forgotten. Small talk disappears almost immediately. Flirty jokes fade within hours. But someone who speaks honestly, without trying to force a certain outcome, becomes surprisingly unforgettable. You say one calm, truthful sentence without expecting anything in return, and somehow it stays in his mind long after the conversation ends. He remembers it the next morning. Maybe even weeks later, sometimes much longer. Not because it was dramatic or perfectly crafted, but because it sounded real. That's where emotional connection quietly begins. It isn't about sounding wise or poetic. It isn't about having perfect words. It's about your presence. It's about allowing someone to see who you really are through the confidence in your voice when you simply say what you mean. People remember that because it's uncommon. It's uncommon to meet someone who isn't trying to control every reaction. It's uncommon to meet someone who feels emotionally steady. It's uncommon to hear words spoken without hidden pressure or expectations. Once you stop trying to impress everyone and begin speaking from a place of inner peace, everything changes. He may remember your smile. He may remember the way your hands briefly touched. But what returns to him again and again is that unexpected sentence you spoke so naturally. For you, it was simply the truth. For him, it became something impossible to forget. That's how someone stays in another person's thoughts, long after the evening is over. Long after the memories begin fading. Long after life moves forward. Some people are remembered for a little while. But those who speak from genuine truth often stay in someone's heart far longer than they ever expected. And the next quiet shift inside a man's mind is where everything truly begins to change. There comes a quiet moment inside a man's mind that even he may not fully understand. He can't always explain why it happens, but one thought begins repeating itself. If I lose her, I think I'll regret it. Once that idea appears, it stays with him. It keeps returning at unexpected moments. He may be working, driving, or lying awake at night, yet somehow that thought refuses to disappear. So what actually creates that feeling? Surprisingly, it isn't only physical attraction. It isn't smooth conversation. It isn't even checking every box on paper. It comes from something much deeper. It comes from the way you carry yourself in your own life. Real attraction grows from emotional position, not constant effort. Most men don't feel a strong desire to commit until they realize they could genuinely lose someone who matters. That realization doesn't come from pressure, arguments, or emotional demands. It doesn't come from sending more messages or trying to become the perfect woman. It happens when he notices that your life isn't standing still while waiting for his decision. You're living fully, you're growing, you're creating happiness that doesn't depend on him. And he quietly understands that if he never steps forward with honesty, someone else eventually will. Stay with me, because this next idea explains why that realization changes everything. This is where the real shift begins. It isn't fear of being abandoned. It's something much more personal. It's the fear of missing an opportunity that may never come again. When you genuinely respect yourself, that respect naturally reflects back to him like a mirror. Instead of telling him your value, you quietly show it through the way you treat yourself every day. That calm confidence creates a small but meaningful distance, not a cold distance, not dramatic silence, just healthy space that reminds him you aren't automatically his. You are someone with your own choices, your own standards, and enough confidence to walk away from anything that doesn't match your values. He notices the little things. You don't answer every message immediately, not because you're following a dating strategy, but because your life is already full. You don't overshare every emotion. Yet you don't hide your feelings either. You speak honestly when something matters, then you allow the conversation to breathe. You don't chase, you don't pressure, you don't try to control his response. Instead, you leave room for him to think, and in that quiet space, something unfamiliar begins happening inside him. He starts noticing the absence of pursuit. Suddenly, your calm presence becomes louder than constant attention ever could. Don't click away now, because this next part is where everything begins coming together. As time passes, memories quietly return. He remembers your smile. He remembers your laugh. He remembers how peaceful it felt sitting beside you, yet at the same time how exciting your energy was. He remembers conversations that seemed ordinary at the time but now feel surprisingly meaningful. Then another thought quietly appears. What if she's really gone? That's often the moment his desire grows stronger. Not because you forced him to feel it, not because you played games, but because your presence is no longer something he automatically expects. He starts realizing that maybe you truly are different. Maybe your energy was never about chasing someone else's approval. Maybe it simply invited people who are ready to meet you with the same honesty. And if he doesn't step forward now, another chance may never come. That's what creates the powerful feeling of not wanting to lose someone. It isn't about what you constantly say. It isn't about how much you give. It's about the quiet strength of knowing who you are, whether he stays or leaves. A woman who understands her worth doesn't spend her time convincing people to remain. She naturally becomes someone others don't want to lose because her value is visible without being announced. That kind of confidence leaves a lasting impression long after the moment has passed. Think about your own life for a second. Almost everyone has one person they still remember years later. Maybe that relationship ended. Maybe life took different paths. Maybe nothing serious ever happened at all. Yet somehow that person still appears in your memory from time to time. Usually it isn't because they tried harder than everyone else. It isn't because they were flawless. It's because of the way they made you feel whenever they were around. That feeling stayed long after everything else faded away. That's the kind of impact that truly matters. Not impact created through endless effort, but through genuine energy. Not through emotional intensity, but through quiet intention. And the simple decision that creates it is something surprisingly few people make. You stop needing something from him. You don't pull away hoping he'll chase you. You don't keep giving just to receive something in return. You don't love only because you expect love back. Instead, you simply stand in your truth and allow him to experience what it feels like to be around someone who already feels complete. That's the real shift. Not one clever message. Not one perfect sentence, not one dating trick, just choosing to show up every day without attaching your happiness to whether someone picks you because you've already chosen yourself. And believe me, that changes more than you realize. This kind of confidence is rare. It catches people off guard because most interactions come from wanting something. People often want attention, they want certainty, they want reassurance. They want control over the outcome, but the person who arrives without hidden pressure, without trying to force anything, and without being afraid of loss creates a completely different feeling. They leave an impression that is difficult to explain. When a man meets a woman who carries herself with that kind of calm confidence, something inside him quietly shifts. He can't always describe it with words. He simply feels that if he doesn't take this connection seriously, he may spend years wondering what slipped through his hands. You become the person who quietly raises his standard, the one he compares others to without even realizing he's doing it. Not because you worked hard to impress him, but because you never built your identity around earning his approval. You offered honesty. You offered warmth. You offered kindness while protecting your self-respect. You didn't chase after him, but you also didn't close your heart. You simply allowed yourself to be real. That honesty stays with people because true attraction isn't only about chemistry. It's about feeling both safe and inspired at the same time. It's about the way your silence sometimes said more than long conversations ever could. It's about how your boundaries quietly showed others how to treat you without needing to raise your voice. That's lasting influence. It isn't something you do to another person. It's something you choose to become every single day. And that quiet energy continues echoing inside someone's memory long after you've walked away. Not because you needed him to keep thinking about you, but because he simply couldn't forget you. Now let's bring everything we've discussed into real life, because seeing these ideas in action makes them feel completely different. Understanding confidence and emotional strength is one thing. Watching them unfold in everyday moments is something else entirely. That's when the message truly stays with you. Imagine this. A woman arrives for a first date. She isn't overdressed and she isn't trying to look effortless either. She's simply comfortable in her own style. She isn't staring at her phone every few seconds or checking her reflection over and over. She's quietly enjoying the moment, maybe holding a warm cup of tea while she waits. Then he walks in. She smiles, stands to greet him, and welcomes him naturally. There's no feeling of relief that he's finally here, no rush, no nervous excitement taking over, just calm energy. The conversation begins easily. He asks simple questions, then deeper ones. She answers honestly, without trying to sound more interesting than she really is. If she disagrees with something, she says it respectfully, instead of pretending to agree. When she talks about the things she enjoys, her excitement comes naturally because she already loves her own life. She's not trying to convince anyone that she's worth choosing. Stay with me, because this next moment is where everything becomes even more powerful. Eventually, the conversation reaches a topic many women secretly worry about. He casually mentions someone he dated before. Nothing inappropriate, just part of a story. Many people would instantly begin comparing themselves or wondering what that former relationship meant. But she doesn't. She smiles, listens, and lets the conversation continue, because her confidence isn't built on competing with someone from his past. Later, as the evening comes to an end, he leans a little closer, hoping for reassurance about where things stand. Instead of rushing to explain all of her feelings or trying to create certainty, she simply smiles and says, "I really enjoyed tonight. Let's both think about it and see where things go." Kind, honest, relaxed, no pressure. That's what leaves a lasting impression. Now picture another situation. A woman has been seeing someone casually for a few months. At first everything feels easy, but slowly his effort begins fading. Fewer messages, more excuses, less consistency. Many people immediately react. They send extra texts, they ask what's wrong, they search for answers. She notices the change too, but instead of chasing, she calmly steps back. No arguments, no dramatic goodbye, no emotional speech explaining how much she cares. She simply allows space. Days later, he finally reaches out with a simple message asking if she's okay. Of course she is. Her happiness was never waiting for someone else's approval. That quiet confidence says more than 100 conversations ever could. Don't skip what's coming next, because this lesson changes everything. These moments aren't about following a perfect script. They grow from genuine self-respect. They come from understanding the difference between someone enjoying your company and someone truly earning access to your heart. That's what emotional confidence looks like in everyday life. It's found in the pauses, in the patience, in choosing not to react to every uncomfortable feeling. It's the quiet moments when most people rush forward, but you remain steady. And something surprising happens inside that stillness. People begin feeling your presence even when you're no longer there. Your absence carries meaning. Your boundaries continue speaking even after the conversation has ended. That's how lasting attraction quietly grows. Not through louder words, not through bigger gestures, simply through greater depth. Once you begin living this way, your focus changes completely. You stop hoping someone will choose you because you're already choosing yourself every single day. And that's often when another person starts realizing they may never find someone quite like you again. They begin understanding your value because you showed it without needing to announce it. That kind of confidence cannot be copied. It isn't created overnight. It grows from the quiet decision to honor yourself first, even when nobody else notices. There is another pattern many women fall into without even realizing it until much later. It feels like kindness. It feels like love. It feels like patience. But little by little, it pushes someone further away instead of bringing them closer. It happens whenever you feel the need to constantly prove yourself, when you explain too much, give too much, forgive too quickly, or keep trying to earn something that should be offered freely in the first place.